All right. I'm ready.
You sure you don't want to start another topic and then another new recording? We can do that too if you.
Yeah, no, we've
Good.
recorded enough individual topics now, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay.
If you don't hurry, I'm going to have to start a new one.
I think I'm just gonna take my time, get a little drink in, just really savor this recording here. Okay, now we can begin the show.
All right, let me start a new recording.
Oh, I have to start up a new recording. You good?
I'm good.
Sure, you don't need to start up another new recording because we can. We're right here. Like we. Welcome back, everyone, to a new episode of Screenplay Rewind. I'm Geoff.
I'm Ron.
And what little film are we covering this week?
Aliens from 1986. Mainly because it is the 35th anniversary, I believe.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
A very extended franchise coverage, because what was it, our second episode?
It was
Alien.
Alien was our second episode. Yep.
Almost. We've been doing this show for a year and they haven't kicked us off the platforms yet. That's insane.
Not quite. Our first episode dropped on Halloween. So we're getting close. We're like a month and a half out.
I feel like we should just circle back around and just cover The Thing and Alien again. It's just like the grown-ups
a
two podcasts. Yeah. Every year we'll just re-review because we're gonna watch them again. Like we're gonna go a month of October.
I kind of want to do a commentary for them.
Ooh, with alcohol.
Gin and tonic reviews, gin and tonic commentaries.
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna try to find that real good shit that made Ron no longer remember 3/4 of Cabin in the Woods.
Dude, I forgot my name that night.
Yeah, you really did. It was really funny.
I was fucking turned.
Yeah, you were. But before we get to our coverage of Aliens this week, we have a couple of questions to answer. And again, if you would like to have any questions discussed by Ron and myself on the show, just be sure to email us, screenplayrewind@gmail.com. It can be just about anything. We'll talk about, send it on over. We'll talk about it. But our first question comes from Mr. Bobby. And it opens up with, "How dare you? You did not announce there will be spoilers in the movie review. You completely ruined the fact..." Oh, spoilers for 1917. "You completely ruined the fact that the brother dies for me. This is unforgivable." And then he said,
"Spoils for the last review we did." Yeah. Did you stop and do a spoiler alert for last episode?
Oh, well, we apparently, I thought we did last time, but did we not last time? I didn't fact check this.
I didn't fact check it either, but it seems like I remember doing it late. I think we got to the brother's death when we were like, "Oh, by
the way." we spoiled the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, good thing we didn't spoil there was a First World War. Oh god. Okay. Bobby, if I didn't fact check this, I'm gonna have to trust but verify. If we did spoil anything for you, that is, kind of on you too, because we've only been doing this for a year, and you know that we spoil everything.
I feel like
sorry.
I feel like somewhere down the line through text message, he told me that he had already seen the movie, but he does listen to a lot of our reviews without having seen the movie. Yeah.
Well, this also could have been a joke. I could never tell when Bobby's being serious, especially over text. But that was the opening. A lot of caps, a lot of exclamation points. Very impressive grammar. And then he has a little follow-up to his screeching all caps, and it says, now on a lighter note, back to World War One. What would you do differently or add to improve now on a lighter note, what would you do differently or would you add to improve 1917? Bobby says it's always one of his favorite things that we talk about on the podcast. So basically he wants us to Monday morning quarterback the brilliance that is 1917. What would you change, Ron?
Well, like I was thinking when I think I mentioned before we started recording, I don't really have an answer to this one because it's such a novel movie with what it was trying to do, and it did what it was trying to do so well. I don't really know that in this instance I have anything, which may be why I didn't mention it in the episode.
Yeah, because it's essentially a perfect movie. It accomplishes everything it sets out to do. Literally all the performances are fantastic. The set designs are great.
I don't have anything better than that, but I mean, it did what it was trying to do so well, and like you said, it's a near perfect movie, one of the rare ones.
The only thing I would change actually has nothing to do with the movie. I would change watching it at home for the first time, and if I could retroactively go back and watch it at the theater. That's the only thing I would change about my viewing of that movie. Because I don't think there's anything to change about it to make it better. I think you would only make it worse by fucking with it.
Yeah, I want to know what this movie sounded like in a theater.
Yeah,
because it sounded damn good over headphones. So I want to know what it sounded like in the theater.
Yeah, it was actually one thing I really liked about. I went and saw Dunkirk in IMAX. And you know how Christopher Nolan cranks up the goddamn audio? When there were gunshots going off, you wanted to fucking duck.
Yeah.
And I like 1917 much more than Dunkirk, so I really wish I'd seen 1917 in the theater, more so than Dunkirk. But we have a little bit of a follow-up question in 1917 from Bobby. He sent a GIF of the main two characters, Schofield and was it Blake? Was that the name of the?
I want to say
family.
Yes. I think
it was Blake.
Blake is the one that doesn't make it.
Yes, Schofield is like the main dude.
Right. But you don't know that
the mission.
At the beginning. Spoilers.
Yeah. So he sent us a GIF of the main two characters saluting, and he said, "Which one is Ron, and which one is Geoff?"
Now, do you want us to give our own opinion each, and see how our answers differ?
I feel like.
Or do you think we're gonna agree?
I feel like we're actually if we were talking about actual characters, we'd be the two dudes who accidentally run into the main character as he's trying to actually do his job and just film the final scene across the trench. We're the extras that just fuck up their one job.
Right.
We have one job to run across a field and not clothesline the main character in the movie, and we fucking do it.
Yep.
Bo, do you have an opinion on? I don't even fucking know which one would be you and which one would be me.
I'm pretty sure I'm Blake,
the dude who dies first. But that would require me being Schofield and actually being competent, and I am not competent. That is I don't know.
Yeah. With his general kind of lack of feeling like he's in peril for the entire beginning part of the movie, and how he's just kind of la da 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 da. Oh god, I got stabbed. Like, you know,
that is very Ron.
I feel like that is very me. Yes.
Yeah. I can't even survive the movie I'm the protagonist in. Shit.
And then meanwhile, you know, Schofield is all the time like telling him basically like, dude, this is a fucking war, and war is terrible. I feel like that's you anytime we play Dark Souls. I'm like, it's fine. You're like, brah. So yeah, I'm pretty sure
I would like Bobby to answer this question though. Which one he believes is Ron and which one is Geoff out of the two leads? And
the only movie I know for sure is You and Me is the two dudes in Prometheus that remove their helmets.
Oh god, my arm hurts real bad, Ron. I remember us just like we were watching several of the Alien movies leading up to, was it like Covenant coming out, I think?
Yeah.
I remember us being we were like very drunk and watching Prometheus and just watching those two dipshits get killed in the stupidest fucking way imaginable. You're just like, yep. That's the Ron and Geoff of the Alien franchise. But I would like to hear from Bobby which one he thinks is us between those two main characters. And we got just one little extra thing we can squeeze in here in the Q&A section as well. Last thing before we jump in, we will be covering Aliens eventually.
Yes.
But his final little tidbit that he threw on here, he said, okay, this is a hard one. What is your favorite film franchise? Minimum at least 3 films. Ron cannot say Transformers.
Now, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? He doesn't actually believe I like the Transformers franchise, does he?
See, that's the thing. Bobby's playing like 4-dimensional chess at all times. I don't know when he's being serious. I don't know when he's fucking around. The only thing I know for sure is the man loves him some gifts. That is the only thing I can confer.
Well, I'm guilty of that. I basically communicate in hieroglyphics these days, just straight through GIFs. So
Hieroglyphics.
Hieroglyphics.
That's all for the show, folks. See you next time.
Exit. Stage left.
So, I have an answer for this, and I don't think it's one that you would expect. But if you would like to go first, you can.
See, I was going to say, I think my answer is not one that you would expect me to say, probably.
Okay.
I was thinking about it, and what I came up with actually kind of surprised me a little bit. One that I would deem my favorite, but I realized that I've probably watched these movies on loop more than any other.
Okay.
And it's gotta be the Brendan Fraser Mummy franchise.
Interesting.
Stephen Sommers' franchise, because it's like, you know, there are times I've seen those movies so much I have them memorized, and there are times that I'm just like, I don't feel like really fucking watching anything. I'm just gonna sit at my computer and like play a game and just turn on the Mummy on the TV that's over here to my left. And
I adore the first one. I think the second one's a lot of fun. I think the third one is just kind of mediocre. It's definitely not a train wreck that people make it out to be, but I would never really I would watch it again. We're eventually going to cover it for the show. It's going to be one of our franchise coverage specials eventually. We just don't know when. I will definitely watch it again for when we cover it. But man, I have the first Mummy like basically memorized. I can almost quote along with it too because it's just one of my family's favorites.
I think The Mummy Returns is one of those rare sequels that I think is just kind of right up there, just barely beneath the first movie. And then, yeah, I agree that 3 is not nearly as good, but I think it gets a bad rap also. I think it's a better movie than most people say it is.
Yeah, I agree. The Yetis are stupid. I will say that.
I like the Yetis, but as far as a movie trying to pass the torch along to another character, I think it's one of the best in the business at what it does because you get an equal dose of all characters, you know?
Yeah.
We don't just get a hat at the end of the movie or just star the kid and the mom and dad are barely in it. Like we get a pretty good dose of everybody, and it's like a goodbye to the O'Connells and then like a hello to the son at the same time, and it's all happening at once, and I kind of love it for that.
Yeah, they were apparently going to be making a fourth one before the third one kind of bombed. They were planning on doing, and they even teased at the end of the third one about like the having it be in the Aztecs and in Peru, but you know it was not meant to be.
Yeah,
but
what was yours?
Well, yeah, we will cover those because I fucking adore the first one and I really like the second one, so they'll be fun to talk about.
Oh yeah, I cannot freaking wait.
Yeah. My favorite film franchise is Lord of the Rings.
Shocking.
The first... See, that's the thing, though, is I think most people that know me would have probably guessed Star Wars, but I have a lot more issues with Star Wars just in general than I do with Lord of the Rings. Now, this is not including... I don't include The Hobbit. I include that as a separate franchise because I don't really like the Hobbit movies that much, but I fucking adore every last goddamn second of the 3 Lord of the Rings movies.
You and I have texted pretty heavily even recently, but ever since that Blu-ray collection come out, we've texted so heavily about it that's honestly the one I was expecting you to say.
Interesting.
Was Lord of the Rings, because when that came out, like I know you were burning through them, and we were texting about just how great they are for a while, and we were sending quotes back and forth for a while, and I just reading the stuff that you were sending me, I got the notion that you and I have never talked about Star Wars in the amount that we talked about Lord of the Rings.
Well, it's also because I know you dislike Star Wars, so like, what is there to really talk about? It would just be like me being kind of excited about stuff, and you'd like just not really being into it. That's totally fine, but it's a non-starter. We both love Lord of the Rings. We talk about it more, but I also just think, objectively speaking, Lord of the Rings is the best example of consistent quality over a trilogy. Almost every major franchise dips along the way. I mean, have you seen Temple of Doom? Have you seen the third Matrix? You know, like, yeah, man.
No, that was Bobby with these pick your favorite child questions, man. He's good at them.
Yeah, and
I
again,
racked my brain for a week trying to think of something just off and on, looking at my movie collection, Googling franchises to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And, I was just like, but I love all of these. And then I realized, well, yeah, I do. But the one that I watch on repeat a lot, even if it's absent-mindedly, it's just on in the background, is going to be usually The Mummy and The Mummy Returns.
Looks like you're on the wrong side of the river. Fuck, so
Looks
good.
to me like I've got all the horses.
My little buddy Benny.
Think of my children.
Yeah, and I think that's probably gonna wrap to our Q&A email section. Again, if you would like to tell us your favorite film franchise, minimum of at least 3 films. Somebody out there, man, could you imagine your favorite franchise actually being like the Bayformers movies?
Oh.
I think you lose your fucking movie viewing privileges at that point, in my opinion. Because like, sheesh.
I'm gonna go off the rails just for a moment because a thought just occurred to me.
Okay.
Your brother is a huge Transformers guy, right?
Oh yeah, even more than you and Phil.
What are his thoughts on the Bayformer movies? Is he as chaff-assed as I am?
See, that's the thing. My family is fucking weird. Okay, like
he's just happy he got it in live action.
I am incredibly analytical when it comes to movies and TV. I think my brother gets this from my dad, and it's honestly a better way of going about existing. My dad and my brother will try to find stuff to enjoy about stuff.
Oh, I remember when I had a little part of my soul still alive like that.
Yeah, like they'll legitimately just kind of focus on the positives, and like there's very few things my brother just like sort of my brother, he loves all kinds of different properties, and my family outside it's really weird how analytical I am of film and stuff, and they're just not. They just watch a movie and they view it as an excuse to have a good time. They're not viewing it as like a very, very like strategically laid out like piece of art the way that I kind of view it. So my brother, I think, likes his favorite, I think, is the 86 movie because he's like an old school Transformers fan like you and Phil are, but I think he's okay with most of the Bay movies. I think he kind of lost interest when they transitioned to the Marky Mark ones. Like, I've never heard him talk to me about those, but I think he liked most of because I think my brother was just excited to be able to see live action Transformers, period, even with Michael Bay involved. I think he was just happy that it happened.
Our old boss Poe was always just happy that he got to see it in live action because he was a big Transformers guy as well. And it's just like, oh God, like I'm so pissed. And he's like, yeah, but at least we got it in live action. Like that was always the caveat for him. Was that's the thing, that's the franchise we thought we'd never see, is it was so old and no one really cared about it. It's got so many iterations anymore that, all of a sudden it was in live action. He was just happy to see it on the big screen. Meanwhile, I was like, why?
Well, what ruined it was its own success because the first movie is not terrible.
No, now it's bad just by associating itself with the others.
If you could Eternal Sunshine,
that first
everything.
Movie. I had my problems, but I liked it overall. I just wish I could see the action. That was my biggest problem.
Michael Bay is a fucking hack. I mean,
oh god.
But we can go on about that.
Speaking of hacks, James Cameron.
Oh man.
How'd you like that segue?
Aliens.
Oh, that's right. We're here for a movie.
I mean, we've been talking about movies.
Not the movie.
Is it funny that every time I say aliens, I think of the meme with the dude with the crazy hair from the History Channel, like aliens.
I don't know. Sukalopoulos? I don't remember his name. Sukalos? Isn't it?
No
I
idea.
think his name is Sukalos.
Are you having a stroke? Do I need to call 911?
I used to watch that show actually all the time. So, yeah.
Interesting.
I think it's Alien.
So what made you decide to choose this? I think you alluded to it earlier. Was it just mainly the anniversary, or was there more to it?
You and I both love the Alien franchise, so they've all pretty much always been on the list since the inception of this podcast. But I originally had another one I was going to pick until I read a news story pointing out that this was the 35th anniversary, so I kind of gave this one the bump up. just to kind of celebrate it. And it's been a while since we've talked about some Alien.
Been a while.
Oh no.
Wasn't it also the Nerf thing?
Yes.
Wasn't the Nerf?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was the article about the Nerf gun, talking about how in celebration of the film's 35th anniversary. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. How did I miss that this is the 35th anniversary of Aliens?
I wasn't even alive then, and then that still makes me feel old.
I was a year.
You know?
I'm a year older than this movie.
I hate, and also just like fucking kudos to these guys. Just like some of these fucking movies and their ability to still hold up after all of this time.
Yeah,
you know, it's something. It's something. It makes you appreciate it even more. Like the longer it goes on, and it's not just nostalgia. It's literally just appreciation for what they were fucking able to pull off with 40-year-old technology.
Yeah, and we'll get into it some more in detail, but it's just like the thing about these movies, man. The thing that always stands out to me is like, Star Wars is famous for changing sci-fi forever with like just kind of how unglamorous space travel was. Star Wars
Space
is kind of famous for.
Yeah.
Well, Star Wars is kind of famous for, like, at the time, if it was a spaceship from another world, it was chrome, like made just straight up out of chrome, and everything's always real sleek looking inside and out and real pretty and all that. And then like the Empire, they're rough. There's no smooth edges on the Imperial ships. They have all these like towers and laser turrets and
very industrial.
It's very industrial looking, and inside they had that kind of slick look. But then you look at the rebels and like they look like a fucking group of rebels barely hanging on to survive. Like there are parts dangling off of some of the X-wings, And then you fast forward from there a little bit to Alien and Aliens, and you want to talk about an industrial look. Like everything in this movie and in the first movie just all look like a real life like factory setting, It's got a real good look to it. Everything looks functional. Everything looks like it's got a reason to be there or a purpose, even if it doesn't make sense. I don't know enough about space travel. I know the biggest complaint about space travel in movies is that there's a lot of wasted space on a spaceship, and that's not the way you do it because everything's at a premium in space. But yeah, everything looks like it's got a purpose and a place, and it seems to be there, and it's got a real good look to it, real good vibe. I like it.
If this franchise had a third entry that was anywhere close to as good as Alien and Aliens are, this would be in my conversation.
Yeah.
Because goddamn, Alien and Aliens are just fucking masterpieces going for completely different genres almost. Aliens borrows a lot from Alien. There are moments of legitimate tension that call back to the way that the first movie is essentially just like a survival horror, story. And then this one is, horror elements mixed with more action towards the kind of like second half of the film. But again, by the way, Bobby, fucking spoilers for 35-year-old Aliens.
Good, Jeff. We're 20 minutes in.
I mean, I need you to do the Kill Bill alert. Yeah, spoilers. Yeah, spoilers. Directed by, let's do the rundown, get that out of the way. Directed by a little man called Jim Cameron.
James Cameron.
Who I think was abducted by aliens at some point. Because how is the same man who fucking made Terminator and Terminator 2 and goddamn Aliens adapting Pocahontas and Space Blue Cats? Can anyone explain this to me?
It's just not that. It's like everything in front of a camera too. Like anytime he's in an interview and he opens his mouth, it's just like, oh my god, dude, why are you trying to kill your career? It's like he just wants out and no one will leave him alone. So he keeps trying to get outed from Hollywood.
That's the thing. It's like he's trying to make, like, Avatar's a bad fucking movie and everyone, it was the highest grossing movie until goddamn Endgame.
Yep.
How did fucking Avatar make 2.7 or whatever billion fucking dollars?
Don't forget, before Avatar, he did Titanic.
I think Titanic ruined his career. I really think it did. I think the success of Titanic made him even. I mean, obviously he had a fucking iconic career. You know, he would have been fucking movie Hall of Fame just after Terminator and fucking Aliens and shit. But like, I really think Titanic, being as successful as it was, made him get even more lost up his own asshole and could just completely. I think he probably could have continued to make good stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, I think he really feels like everything that he makes post Titanic has to be this like genre and like a decade defining piece of work. You know, like just you hear about reports about how they literally lost fucking track of what the budget was for Avatar because they just kept funneling money into it, and it's just like I don't get it. But yeah, that is a topic for a different time because Aliens is a fucking masterpiece.
In the timeline of James Cameron, was it
James Cameron?
Was it get ready, buckle in for that, folks? Did it go Terminator, Aliens, Terminator 2?
Yes. T2 was like 91.
That's what I was thinking. I think he did.
Yeah.
But Terminator probably got him this. And then he was, at that point, he was kind of unstoppable, right?
Yeah, okay. Here's the timeline. Terminator was 84. Aliens was 86. And then T2 was 91.
And then he was at the height of his powers. He's become too powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, let's complete the rundown. Writing credits include a story by James Cameron, along with Walter Hill and David Giler.
Now, I saw in the credits to the movie, James Cameron had the screenplay credit, too, not just the story.
Yes, he does have credit for the screenplay, and it was based on characters created by Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett from Alien 1.
Right.
And it's like, what a fucking way to open up your like, it's an original franchise, and you open up with Ridley Scott and Cameron back in the day.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Man, dude, I wish they had, and then just to like see them almost kill the franchise with the third one, which isn't a colossal piece of shit in my opinion, but them spoilers for Alien 3, Bobby. Them killing Hicks and Newt off screen in the lead up is so cruel and so dumb to me and so unnecessary.
That is what I think. One of the main reasons I think everyone just immediately says fuck this movie.
Why would you do that?
Because like
why would you open up your film by pissing off people instantly?
Yeah.
Like, why? Because I don't really think everything else that happens after that is particularly bad. You know, obviously it's not a classic like the first two movies are, but it's not a train wreck. It's just like, just write them out.
Yeah.
Why are you going out of your way to off them off screen? It's like, just don't. It's not necessary. You can still have this fucking story about Ripley on the prison planet thing.
Yeah.
And have nothing to do with Hicks and Newt.
How much company property has she destroyed now? You don't need an excuse for her to just like crash land there.
Yeah.
Like, you
literally all you had to do was just write something that fucking Mad About You screwed her over in the end, you know, like he framed her for something, you know.
Boy, was she mad about him.
Yeah, we'll get there. I like how this has been just a conversation about like all these tangents except for Aliens, but we'll get there. Yeah, that's pretty much the rundown. I mean, the cast is pretty iconic. Sigourney Weaver obviously is Ripley, Carrie Hinn playing Newt, Michael Biehn, Corporal Hicks. I love Michael Biehn in this movie. It's like, just love me some Michael Biehn. This is one of those dudes. I literally think he just got all of his roles because he's just buddies with Cameron. But I mean,
hey, at the time, not a bad guy to be friends with if you're in the business.
Because I mean, you think about him and just like the way he plays this, and the way he plays, you know, he played Michael, played Reese in Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
Was Kyle Reese? Was that his? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Paul Reiser, we mentioned his Berg. Lance Henriksen, pretty iconic portrayal as Bishop. Fucking Bill goddamn Paxton, our boy, Private Hudson. Fuck yeah. Gotta love man. Gotta love Hudson. Just the absolute memeage from this performance, and none of it becomes stupid to me. I love it even more. Just the fact that like every goddamn line he says is a meme now, and I love it.
Also absolutely in Terminator, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the punks.
I need you close your boots and your motorcycle. Doesn't he have like a purple mohawk or
he's
some
got
shit.
like a giant like blue mohawk or like like one of those like spiky mohawks where you use the Elmer's glue in your hair to hold it.
Yeah. Punk Bill Paxton.
Yeah, it's fucking great. I think he pulls a switchblade. It's either him or the guy next to him pulls a switchblade, and then you never see them again.
They belong to the canyon now.
That's a movie we're gonna have to cover as well at some point.
Yeah, I'd be totally down to cover that one for sure. So and then after that, pretty much everyone else is just kind of a.
Did you notice? What was it? What's his name? Fucking Panama Hat is in the credits here. He's Van Leeuwen.
As whom?
Paul Maxwell playing Van Leeuwen. He's fucking Panama Hat from Last Crusade.
Oh shit! Who was Van Leeuwen?
I think he's one of the guys in the boardroom, maybe.
Oh, was he? Is he the one that Ripley stops at the door? Is that? Oh shit!
I think that's.
I didn't notice that. But I love that his IMDb profile pic is that like just really goofy grin he has from Last Crusade.
Yeah,
that's
literally
great.
the only reason I noticed is when we were setting up for the show. I saw that and was like, no fucking way.
It's fucking Panama Hat.
Panama Hat, man. Yeah.
The last two really need to like roll out. William Hope plays Lieutenant Gorman. Jeanette Goldstein as Private Vasquez. Michelle Rodriguez Prime.
I was gonna say there's no way if this was made today that it wouldn't have been Michelle Rodriguez, right? Especially after being a James Cameron alum now.
James Cameron.
Private
Vasquez is the Michelle Rodriguez Prime from which all Michelle Rodriguez characters are birthed from. Yeah. Yeah, I really like Al Matthews as Sergeant Apone because he's just playing like a cliche drill sergeant type character, but I really like him. I think he's very likable in the very little screen time he has overall. Because he's like one of the first fucking people to die.
Hudson, get over here.
Sucks.
Get right over here right now.
Yeah, everything with him yelling at Paxton is great. It's really, really funny. But yeah, I don't even know where to fucking begin with this movie, dude. It's So here's the first thing I will say. I forget just how fucking great this movie is until I sit down to watch it again, and I'm just gripped for the entire like 2.5 hour runtime almost. Because I didn't remember it being as long as it is, because it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes just about.
Yeah, it does not feel like it's that long.
It flies by, and then like just like the tension they build. You don't really see xenomorph action until an hour in. Which is crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing I wanted to start
tension.
With is that.
Yeah.
Because you remember this being a sci-fi action shoot everything that moves movie, and that doesn't even start until like an hour into the movie. And
yeah, I don't think you actually see one of the full-grown xenomorphs until about the hour mark, like right at the hour mark.
Yeah, it starts out very similar to the original Alien movie, right? And we kind of wrap up the first movie a little bit, and then we build the plot for this movie. But when with her floating in space, it's just kind of vast emptiness of space, which is kind of how we introduced the Nostromo in the first movie. And a lot of the music is very similar to the first movie, and it's used kind of similarly to the first movie. And then
we should bring attention to that. I believe it's James Horner who did the music, and
James Horner, I didn't even notice.
Is
missed.
Passed away about 6 years ago. But man, what a legend! Just scroll through the old IMDb on James Horner and just look at how many classics that he composed. It's really crazy.
But yeah, then when you get to the colony on LV-426. Again, it is still kind of acting like the first movie just a little bit, and that's kind of what you're expecting. But then when you start getting those sensor readings of these things being fucking everywhere, it just makes this snap transition into action movie, and it stays there the rest of the time. The music changes, and the way the music is used changes. The look and feel of everything changes. But it very much mimics what you're used to from the first movie, from like the first 45 minutes to an hour.
Just fucking foreboding dread.
Yeah.
That is there the fucking sound effect of the motion detector in Aliens.
It's so stressful to listen to in this movie.
It's so fucking stressful. It is such a like. I think this won the Oscar. Let me just verify. I believe it won for the special effects and the sound editing, and they fucking earned it. Yeah, sound effects, editing, and visual effects, and good God, the sound.
Dude, there are times that you just
fucking tension.
You just see nothing but a handful of people running for their lives from nothing, but you're hearing that doo 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 the entire time. You're just like, oh shit, run, fucking run.
Yeah, man. So good.
It's so good.
One of the most iconic sci-fi sound effects. It's like up there with like the fucking lightsaber and the fucking like the Star Trek communicator. It's one of the most like iconic sound effects in sci-fi to me.
Yeah.
Is that fucking heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, God, and like, you know, we keep talking about the music, but like the music in this movie, the thing that stood out to me, Jeff, is so the first one we talked about how that movie is mostly dead silence, and that's kind of what they use to build the tension because that builds this sense of claustrophobia. And when the shit hits the fan, you have the music stinger and then the score kicks in. And in this film, you know, it's largely mimicking the first one for the first 45 minutes, like we said. But when it transitions, it's not just here's a bunch of shit blowing up real good and some music to accompany it. The music will ramp up with the action, but when it ramps down, it comes down with it and it starts building tension all on its own. If everyone's just standing still, not moving, the music itself is enough to build tension in this film. And it's
or lack thereof, like that elevator ride. The elevator ride when she's going down after Newt at the very end.
Oh my God.
And
then
you
the
can
music
hear a
stops
fucking
when she gets to the bottom.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh fuck. Because it starts feeling a little bit like the first one again, but still very different. This movie is a masterclass.
I think I still stand behind liking Alien better, but fuck, they're close. It's more of like a 1A and 1B that I always forget that it is until I say that, because I know how I feel about Alien. I forget just how fucking well made Aliens is.
I think
until you sit down and watch it and you just realize just how gripped you are by it. Because I fucking just get absorbed into this movie.
Yeah, I think
for the
part
entire
of that
duration
is just due to what we know of James Cameron now. It makes me a little bit less excited, usually, probably.
That part of it doesn't really enter my mind at all, because I still fucking love like this and T2 and the first Terminator. I don't really. It's just it makes me sad of what we missed out on, because I really feel like we could have continued getting good shit from him if Titanic hadn't been as huge as it was. Like it just, man, what a loss of really, really, to me, inventive, like just the fucking the miniature work, like the special effects in this movie, and you just see, you know, like a lot of the CG is actually very good for the time. The special effect, like a lot of the time, you can kind of be confused, and you're just like, is that a miniature? Because I'm pretty sure it's a miniature, but it's so fucking well shot if it is a miniature. Because usually it's like, for movies in the 70s and 80s when they were heavily using miniatures, usually it stands out, you know, like a sore thumb. Like you remember like the first Superman movie with Christopher Reeve, the miniature work when and you're just like, this is a cartoon. but you watch Aliens and you're just like, I think that's a mini, but I can't tell.
The little plastic trees in the first Superman movie when the dam breaks reminds me of like when you used to go get like the bucket of dinosaurs from the dollar store. The little trees that came with it.
Talking about the trees just made me think of the trees going back into place in Spaceball.
Oh my God. Yeah, the reverse footage. Yeah. The drop ships, the way they fly, it's a model, but it moves more like a helicopter than you expect it to. It doesn't really act like it's on strings on a rail.
And the way that
the tail of it kind of drifts back and forth like it's in a crosswind, like a helicopter would.
And that part of it's really well done, and also the way that they they position the scenes in the background behind them. Like when the ship gets destroyed because the xenomorph is on the ship, when they're about to evac, and it's crashing behind them, and the way that they kind of integrate the fake explosion of the ship crashing with the shit then flying into frame, all at one time, is really fucking well done. And you almost buy that the ship is actually crashing behind them, even though I'm pretty sure it's two completely different composed shots. But you can't really tell because it's so seamlessly integrated, like all the goddamn time. Fucking great.
The visuals, the visuals in this movie altogether, even just far and above the special effects, is just the detail. Like when they first find Ripley at the beginning of the movie, and they have to like push that like little layer of ice, like slush off of her hypersleep tube.
Yeah.
And like there's just this little layer of semi-frozen slush over all the computers and the chairs, and like there's like the fog rolling up off of it. And yeah, it's just really, really cool. All the little details in it, the detail work in the costumes. I love I hate when sci-fi movies try to over sci-fi themselves, like to blatantly be sci-fi. Because then you just start looking like, Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future or whatever the fuck the show was. But their costumes on the Colonial Marines, the details in them, they're a little Mad Maxy now, but at the same time, like you look at them, they're kind of well done. Like their body armor and like all the pockets on them they have makes sense. The gear they have hanging on them, the ones you can recognize anyway, all makes sense. The tools that they pull out all make sense. They don't have this like just ridiculousness. They just have, what we have now, but a little bit better.
I really like that they took the time to have them scribe mottos and sayings into their gear, and on the side of like the VTOL ships they have, and just all kinds of like very minute attention to detail. And while we're talking about the special effects and the costumes and stuff, how fucking awesome is the Queen? The Queen looks so goddamn cool, where you can't like when she's first revealed, and you can't really tell like what parts of her are mobile because she's stationary and dude, the effect on the fucking egg sac layer thing.
Oh my god.
Oh, it just makes you want to vomit. It's so good. Like, dude, again, Stan Winston, just fucking legendary work here. Like, the fucking Queen is amazing. I'm just like showing back to the photos, just the way that you can just feel the fucking like humidity off of the egg sacs. It's just gross, dude, and it's so good at the same time.
There's few expressions worse than egg sac, right?
Right, yeah.
Like, oh my god. But no, I can't remember when I watched this for the first time, but one of the lines that stands out to me in this movie every time is well, these things come from eggs, right? So what's laying the eggs? Because that is a thing you don't even stop to think about in the first movie.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that. The way that the way that they connect plot elements and then use some of the stuff from the first movie both as a continuation and as a misdirect is very cool.
Yes.
The idea, first of all, the idea of her not trusting Bishop,
dude,
because he's an android, is great.
With one line, the audience doesn't trust him either. He has one line that immediately just makes you go, nope, not having the android. And that is when they ask him about the face hugger, and he says it's magnificent, and you're like, oh god, he's Ash all over again.
And a great little bit of, it's almost like a double entendre of like character building is when he accidentally, first of all, the finger fillet thing, yes, like where he's doing the knife trick with Hudson is one of the most famous scenes of the movie for good reason. And Paxton is hilarious as he's just freaking the fuck out as it's happening. It's all cool, man. But
hold on,
him cutting his finger.
Real quick, on the 5-finger fillet, I've been staring at this on IMDb the entire time that we've been talking because it's just where I'd stop scrolling. In the goofs section, it says when Bishop is doing quote unquote the thing with the knife, the scene is sped up to give the impression that Bishop is lightning fast. But Apone can be seen rocking his head back and forth in the background, also at ridiculous speed.
That's awesome.
And I want to see this. I want to pop that Blu-ray back in and go to the 5-finger fillet part.
But what's genius about him cutting his thumb while doing that is it not only confirms him as an android to Ripley to have the thing where it shows that Ripley immediately doesn't trust him for good reason, because she had that horrible experience in the first movie with an android, or, is it an artificial person he prefers to be called? That's a cool little touch.
Yeah.
But that is also a misdirect because Paul Reiser asks him, aren't you usually perfect?
Right.
So you're like, is his AI also failing? Is he gonna turn crazy? It's a lot of good subtext to him potentially being another crazy android. It's so cool that he's not. I love that change. He's one of the main characters of the movie towards the end. It's really cool.
The assumption I've always made there, though, is that he was perfect, because he specifically talks about how he can't hurt a human, and he's got a human's hand on top of his own. So he's much more willing to cut himself than he is Hudson. I don't know. That's always been my assumption on why he wasn't and why he didn't do it perfectly, and why he ended up cutting himself. Is if someone was going to get cut, it had to be him because of his programming.
Yeah, it's just cool that they don't. It's all
at the same
it's
time,
up to interpretation. You don't know
exactly, but at the same time, it's like, well, it wasn't perfect, so why?
Yeah, super great.
And what a fucking amazing performance from Lance Henriksen. And he's a recurring actor through the franchise too, and he's great in every role he's in.
At the end, how he sells getting torn in half is great.
My god,
it's
and when you
see him he's
literally just the upper torso saving Newt. He's still fucking fighting. He's just a torso. And he's still fucking fighting the best he can.
Yeah. I fucking love Bishop, dude. Bishop's the best.
Bishop is so awesome. Great.
And also, I want to talk a little bit about a kind of a not really talked about performance I think that's actually really good is William Hope as Gorman. Because towards the beginning of this movie, he is it's essentially one of his first combat missions. He's the new, hotshot corporal who is book smart but has no field experience. And I think his performance eventually kind of sounding like he has self-confidence, but there's that very kind of underlined thing of where he's just kind of faking it at the same time. He's acting in a very, very specific way to convey, I'm trying to show that I know what I'm doing when I really don't. That I think comes across really well.
Yeah, he the feel that I always get from Gorman is that he does have the confidence because he aced everything. He's aced every test, every simulation. He's the fucking man, but he doesn't have any field experience. But I mean, his role doesn't seem like it gets much field experience because he's the guy in the chair barking orders. But when the problem is, we run into something that no one's ever fucking dealt with before. And without that field experience, without having done this before, this is not something he could have been trained for. When he breaks down in the middle of the firefight as everybody's getting killed is fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. And you just yes, it sucks that he's having this moment of where he's freezing, but you can't fucking blame the guy. Yeah. He's watching all of his dudes die. The decision to give them all the little cameras is fucking genius, where you see all of the little mini horror movies taking place via the cameras on the console is fucking incredible, dude.
Also, just going back to looking at realistic design and how great everything is built, and you can see it actually having a place in the world. How cool is that fucking huge console, but the chair is on a rail that he moves to whatever position he is, so one person can operate it. It's so cool.
It's really cool.
I know that's a weird thing to call out, but just that's one of those things. That's one of the things that's world building, right? This is a thing that exists in the world, and you can see that having a place. How is one person supposed to man a console like that? Well, the fucking chair slides on a rail.
Yeah.
Um,
And I just want to talk about too, just like Ripley might be what like maybe the best protagonist ever. Like, man, you just talk about just like how much Sigourney Weaver can just be in a fucking room and just command at an instant when she wants to.
not
Like,
only that,
I fucking love her in this movie.
not only that, to be such a dynamic character. How many times do you see such a dynamic character that literally just has a singular focus, which is exterminate these goddamn monsters? Like usually a character that has a single focus is almost a one-note character, but Sigourney Weaver goes, depending on who she's talking to, there's characters that she's stern with, and then there's the way she talks to Newt, which is motherly, and then, Hicks, like their brother and sister. Like it's kind of incredible, but the entire time her focus is just the one thing, which is either they die or I still live and some of them still lived. It doesn't matter. We're getting the fuck out of here. Full survival mode, but not a one-note character.
When the head of the board is talking shit and talking down to her, and then she stops him from exiting the room by putting her arm in front of the door frame.
It just seizing all the power in the room. Yeah.
Do not fuck with Ripley, dude. Sigourney Weaver is fucking awesome.
Sigourney Weaver is great in every movie she's ever been in at that command the room, like you were talking about. Like that singular motion of putting her arm up in the door to stop the guy that's clearly in charge. Leaving the way she takes over from fucking Gorman and Burke, and then like Hicks backs her up. Like everything in this, dude. When she fucking takes over the APC,
Yeah. How fucked up is that? And now I'm actually really glad, that Gorman ends up kind of redeeming himself, by going after.
I was gonna say, are we in the camp that Gorman redeems himself later with Vasquez?
Yes. Absolutely, because he could have continued on with the rest of them, but he goes back to try to save her. I think he redeems himself in the end.
And he's the one that pulls out the grenade in the first place.
Yeah.
I
love that he gets to kind of redeem himself. But the one thing before we move on from Ripley, how cool is it that they take the time to give her PTSD? Yes. I think that's a cool touch, because most of the time when you have this kind of badass protagonist, they become just kind of like an archetype and no longer a person. But like, I love the little moment where they're first, deploying the Marines into the hive, and they find the woman who had the, impregnated xenomorph that was about to hatch. And you see Sigourney Weaver's character, Ripley she's clutching her chest, and she's having a panic attack. She's having to fight back because she's been having nightmares for just like weeks about this. She's legitimately traumatized by what happened because she's a fucking space trucker.
Yeah.
She's not a Marine, and she's so good under pressure, and she's so smart and so resourceful. Like, is there any better fucking scene in cinema than when she's fucking duct taping the flamethrower to the machine gun? You're just like, fuck yeah, dude. And then she's like, she has the foresight to bring the flares, to bring like the bread crumb trail, like where she can find her way back to the ship. It's like, man, Ripley's awesome. Well, she's such a cool character.
At this point in the movie, she's done this before, right? This is her returning to the first movie, essentially. When she didn't know what to do, she didn't have things prepared. She's prepared this time. She's got experience, the thing Gorman was lacking. So yeah, she pockets the flares and starts duct taping it. She duct tapes a fucking flashlight to it all when she's done duct taping guns together. And I was gonna save this until the end of the show, I wanted to talk about like clear cultural and pop culture influences that this movie has had. It's been a while since I've watched this movie, Jeff.
It's been a while.
God damn it. That's twice now. And how many Ishimura vibes did you get from this?
Oh, I was already thinking of Dead Space, but as soon as you said when she has the foresight to tape the flashlight to the thing, I'm just like, God damn it, Isaac, you're an engineer.
Like, even the trailer for the new Dead Space coming out shows him at the workbench, and like when she's duct taping weapons together, I'm seeing Isaac at the workbench upgrading his fucking weapons. And yeah, like everything in this colony, the Nostromo maybe not so much, but everything in this colony, the Ishimura is like clearly designed after it. And I was just like, why can't I get an Aliens fan / Dead Space fan who's a novel like movie writer and director to just give me a fucking live action Dead Space?
Yeah, man, I'm hoping this remake of it is successful because I want Dead Space back. At the very least, man, if you gave me like an HBO show,
dude, an
Dead
HBO
Space,
like miniseries, like
dude, that'd be so
season
good.
is each game.
That'd be so good.
Dude, like even the body horror in this with the bodies plastered to the wall with the eggs in front of them is very Dead Space also. Well, okay. Dead Space is very Aliens. Let's get that clear. Aliens came first, but
yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Like it definitely invokes that imagery, and I was just like, man, yeah, I got a lot of Dead Space vibes coming back into this, especially with it being in my mind recently with the remake coming out.
Well, because it created like Aliens create and Aliens, you know, together. You just combine them together. It's a visual language of like film. It's so influential in so many different ways. Well,
they show detail matters, right?
And character matters.
The thing that we talked about over and over again in this podcast and when we did Alien on our second episode was the amount of detail into everything and the characters. And yeah, like these two movies just show how important that can be. But yeah, Sigourney Weaver is just fucking great.
Fucking phenomenal, man. And
she's
her scene, I actually
too.
think
like I didn't care much for the Defenders, but she was great in the Defenders.
Yeah, I mean it's Sigourney Weaver. She's like incapable of being bad. It's just she, you know, needs to get paid.
And that is another instance where she fucking commanded the room because she was like the head of the hand, right?
Yeah, she's kind of like she's almost like Denzel in a way where they're just like pure fucking unadulterated alpha and there's no denying it. You know, there's just they're just a fucking presence, and it's I'm just so happy that they basically stumbled upon Sigourney Weaver, you know, when they were making the first movie, and then for them to continue and turn her from a great character into a fucking like cinema icon, you know, 35 years later. It's fucking great, dude. Get away from her, you bitch.
Oh my god,
you're just so like good. Yes, dude. I get chills thinking about it. So good.
I don't know what was next on your list, but can we talk about one of the scariest things in this movie to me?
Yeah, good.
So I made the point, I believe, when we talked about Alien, how Alien is like, it blew my like horror movie fuse where like I feel like it takes a lot for most horror movies to scare me. They have to be really well done and really atmospheric to get me into them and into their vibe and to buy into like all the jump scares and shit. But like the thing that I believe I said was that I've always found Predator more terrifying, like as an idea, because he's sentient and he knows what he's doing and he's doing it for fucking fun. Whereas the xenomorphs are like just like a wild animal, just doing what animals do, and that makes them predictable. The Queen clearly has some form of consciousness. I doubt it's sentience, but like when she displays what the flamethrower can do and points it at the eggs, and like the Queen has the other xenomorphs back off.
Oh yeah,
and
it's like a fucking, it's like a hive mind.
Yeah, and she's able to like hold the eggs hostage. Like there is a consciousness to the Queen that clearly the drones do not have. And it's just like, oh my God, this thing is so much bigger, so much more powerful, and has some capacity to it. That is, I always forget that nod. I always forget that that's a thing until I see it. And I'm like, oh yeah, the Queen is fucking horrific, dude.
And also the way they continue them basically staying so completely still that you believe they're a part of the building and like the architecture.
That first reveal.
Ooh, man, it's terrifying that when they just all, and I don't, it has to be because there's so many fucking like appendages on their costumes and everything.
Yeah.
It has to start from like a still frame that they're repeating, right? Because it's like it would almost be impossible for them to be that still with how much is going on with their suits.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they did it, because
know.
like one thing we didn't mention in Temple of Doom is like the guy in Indiana Jones's room.
Oh yeah,
it clearly, if you know he's there, like you can tell they were clearly taking advantage of like the quality of cameras back in the day and the quality of VHS, and that guy is practically invisible. But you watch that on Blu-ray, and it's like, dude, there's a fucking bro just standing in the back of the room, like that. Did not happen for me in this. I forgot about that reveal, and when it happened, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even see him. Yeah.
And I love it even more because I always think back to that moment that happens in Alien in the first one, and it's just how
when he's like in the hoses on the escape ship or whatever,
how my mind is fucking blown all over again every time I watch that first movie, and I love that, like, what they decide to carry over, what they decide to like play on expectations with. This might be like the best sequel. We've talked about that in the past. Like Last Crusade's up there. I think Terminator 2 is up there. Their Cameron joint, but I think Aliens might be the best sequel.
I think Terminator 2 is better than Terminator, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I agree. But I think Aliens might be the best sequel because of what gets carried over.
Yeah,
what they build upon. What they turn Ripley into, into just how fucking much of a presence she is in this. Like, I think it's the best sequel, and I think the only one that probably gets close. I think the only ones that really get close are Last Crusade's fucking genius, and I think Terminator 2 is actually because it's fucking better than the first one. It's got to be in that conversation.
It's better than the first one. It's probably not the best sequel. They just kind of reference the first one, and like you can tell there's a history. This is clearly interlocked with the first one.
Yeah, I agree.
If you want to talk about quality of sequel, I'm not saying Terminator 2 has flaws, because that's a damn near perfect movie as well.
I know. Have we not talked about anything Terminator yet?
Because I think we were saving it for a franchise. I think it's on our list of franchises that we wanted.
I think Predator is also on the list.
It is. That's why we haven't jumped into it. And that's kind of why, like, I didn't know if I was saving Aliens for like a Halloween time thing or what I was doing, and then like I said, I bumped it up when I found out it's the anniversary. It made me want to talk about it real bad.
Yeah.
But
for sure, and it's never a bad time. And we also just we're so kind of fast and loose with the scheduling. It doesn't really matter. And it's also, it's just like, it's cool too because it totally fucking functions as this amazing action movie, and it functions as a thriller because of just how much tension there is as they're methodically moving around the the colony and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fucking perfect movie. It's just so meticulous in the way that they crafted it. It's clearly a passion project, and
also like their plan to survive in this movie just makes sense. Like, it's not like, why the fuck would you do that, or why does that seem like a good idea? Like, let's batten down the hatches. We know a rescue is going to be coming. Let's batten down the hatches. Let's find every single entrance and exit. Dude, having like PTSD herself, the way she handles Hudson and his freak out, and like, when someone is having a panic attack and they're in a situation, you give them a job. And she's like, I need to know every entrance and exit to this place. I need all the air ducts. I need all this. And she gives him a thing to do, something to focus on, so he calms down. So he's got a reason to calm down. He's got a reason to focus. So the way she handled that, right?
I also just love the fact that Hudson comes across as a complete jackass and an idiot, and is also like one of the smartest people there. He's like the tech guy. That's a cool little detail that I didn't really think of too much in the past. How he's like the fucking demolitions guy and the tech guy, and he runs out all the blueprints, and like he's always like that. He's like the guy in the chair, like in the field, and it's a cool detail that they made. Who comes across as an idiot, but he's not.
What do they call him? Like operations support or whatever.
Yeah.
The thing with Hudson also is I firmly kind of believe that he's kind of the audience stand-in. Like, I think, there's always like the one character, like in Doctor Who, it's the companion, because the companion doesn't really understand things or what's going on, and the doctor's explaining something to the companion. They're actually explaining it to the audience. I think Hudson is very much the audience stand-in, but not so much for exposition, because that's kind of all of the Marines there, because Sigourney Weaver's the only one that knows kind of what's going on. But I think his reactions is meant to reflect the audience reactions.
It's game over, man. It's game over.
It's like, well, now fucking what? That's great, man. That's just fucking great.
We're in some pretty shit right now, man.
Yeah. Like, it seems like every reaction he has is the reaction you want to have at that moment as the audience.
Yeah.
But and two characters in particular I also want to talk about. One of them is a performance, and one of them is the way the character is handled, because I thought it was genius. But performance, we need to talk about Newt.
Yeah, I really like Newt in this movie.
There's a reason why Newt is a fan favorite and why everyone hated Alien 3 from the first 5 minutes forward. Because Newt, the story I remember, and I didn't look it up, and I should have, but the legend that I have in my head is that basically James Cameron was going to sounds a lot creepier than I mean it to, was going around to a bunch of middle schools and stuff, looking for an actress to play Newt, and was
I believe that's
tryouts.
correct. I've also heard that. Yeah. I believe you are correct.
Yeah, that they were holding tryouts at lunch period or something for it, looking for the perfect kid for the role. And I want to say that this is really one of the only things that she did, and she's a teacher now or something.
She has one other, literally just one other performance on her IMDb. Yeah,
and that was in 2020.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, dude, child actors are ridiculous to find, and that's just a product of the fact that they are a child.
They're stupid. They're stupid kids.
Yeah, I mean that's just the way it is. I mean they're kids. What do you expect? So to find the diamond in the rough is a very difficult thing, and Newt is fantastic in this movie.
She's so
especially when she's
likable.
Shell shocked at the beginning when she's first found, and she's almost a feral child.
And just how could you not feel bad for her? To see her brother and parents killed.
Yeah,
it's terrifying. And she's what is she? They have a little trophy thing where she was some type of award for second grade. So what age are you when you're in second grade? 9, something like that.
Yeah, 9,
8.
8. Yeah, something like that. I think I remember being around 10 in 4th grade, so probably around 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just the way that she delivers her lines, she's so adorable and so likable. And and to your point, most of the time I fucking hate the kid.
Yeah.
I'm most of the time I don't give a shit if the kid gets killed, because they're usually very annoying. And I think they're very smart about making her, a recluse, just because of her situation, because it they don't have the, a lot of the time, the little smarmy kid is there for comedic relief a lot of the time. And,
hold on to your
instead
potatoes.
of doing that, they add a lot of heart to the movie, a lot of the little sequences, where her and Ripley have the, the nose fake out thing. It's very, very warm and heartwarming, that the movie needs, because it makes you go fucking all, when Ripley is on that mission at the end to save her, you're fucking all in.
And I almost feel in a way, it's an interesting device to use because it gives Ripley a purpose, right? It's this movie does not waste the child character, right? The child character is not just there to be oh, look at this poor child in this situation. You could very easily see Ripley with her conviction going on a suicide mission to just annihilate everyone here. Just to get rid of every xenomorph, get rid of the queen, get rid of the eggs, fuck this planet, and all of that. But she can't do that. And I'm not saying that that's ever brought up, but you can very easily see her character, especially with PTSD, having a self-destructive tendency, fighting these things or something. But Newt gives her a reason to try to survive, try to escape. We have to get out of here. It's a very interesting way because it's not brought up, but you can see very easily her hatred of these things kind of overwhelming her own survival instinct. And Jeff, when Newt screams, I do not want to jam a screwdriver in my ear. Fucking Billy or Willie or whatever the fuck her name is in Temple of Doom.
Man. You just had to go and mention Temple of Doom and Willie and bring the room down.
Willie. I can never remember if it's Billy or Willie.
It's best to not remember.
It's best to not remember. She never should have left the nightclub. Anyway, so
you want to talk about? Let's just go back and re-record Temple of Doom again. You know, why not? You know, I hate myself. I don't mind, you know, just sitting through fucking Temple of
tendencies.
Also, apparently, the 15-minute cooldown or countdown at the end before the shit's happening is apparently actually 15 minutes.
Is it really?
That's pretty crazy.
That is crazy. The other character that I want to talk about that's very well handled is I feel like there is a bit of a protagonist shift. God damn it, I fucking lost his name. Kyle Reese. What's his name?
Hicks.
Yeah, Hicks. But like, what's his name?
Michael Biehn.
Michael Biehn. There we go. He now I see it on IMDb. I was desperately scrolling for he's the second fucking name. Michael Biehn at this point is coming off of Terminator, so everybody in the audience recognizes him like immediately. But throughout the whole first part of this movie, it's all about Burke, Gorman, and Ripley. And Hicks doesn't even have that many lines. He's kind of sitting in the background all the time. He doesn't really do much. There's the funny moment where the drop is so not exciting to him, he just falls asleep during it.
I love that. Somebody go wake up Hicks.
You know, like, and then once Gorman kind of loses his shit and gets his concussion, Hicks just kind of steps up, and it's Hicks and Ripley throughout the whole thing from that moment on. But
there's also very cool foreshadowing of this.
Yes.
If you pay attention to, but one of the things that I noticed this viewing that I really like is even before Gorman's had his meltdown and everyone kind of turns against him once he fucks up the, him being in charge of the away mission. When they're first moving through the colony buildings, when I forget, it's one of the red shirt Colonial Marines that dies first. Gorman is there, but the person that he reaches out to notify that like who he believes is the next person in charge, you know, even while Gorman is in the fucking room, it's Hicks. He calls to Hicks to motion him over to tell him about, you know, like the motion detection and shit like that in the heat signatures and stuff.
Right.
So like even before Gorman's out of the picture, Hicks is still subtly in charge. It's just he's like the opposite of Gorman. How Gorman is like trying to act and pretend to be alpha. Hicks is just very, very competent and knows what he's doing.
Gorman is trying to be in command through sheer rank. He doesn't have the respect of the men.
Yeah.
Whereas Hicks,
because he has something to prove. Hicks has nothing to prove, so Hicks is very chill in the way he presents himself to the other Marines, and there's a mutual respect between the Marines.
Yeah, Hicks makes him the next in line. Hicks's rank makes him the next in line for command, and he does have the field experience. He has been with these men before. Like they know him, they respect him. So yeah, he's the one that they all turn to. But at the same time, he's just very subtly kept in the background until the shift. And I thought, watching that, I thought that that was a very well done little shift, because the first real moment that it happens, I think, is when he looks Ripley in the eye and says, "I say we get the hell out of here and nuke it from orbit. It's the only way to be sure."
The only way to be sure.
You know,
that's such a great goddamn scene.
Oh god, I know.
Maybe one of the movie quotes that I quote the most is nuking it from orbit is the only way to be sure. It's like, I love that scene.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, that just reminded me. Were you laughing at the dollar amounts because it's so 1986? The Nostromo apparently cost $42 million. That's like pocket change now, and that's what they're mad about. That's what Wayland Yutani is upset about, is the $42 million space rig. And then, like, there's a part in that same scene when they're talking about nuking it from orbit because it's the only way to be sure, that Burke's like, "Now hold on, there's a lot of dollars at work here. I mean, we're talking millions of dollars." And I just laughed every time because it's so 1986 that millions is a big number. Like, it would have been trillions if made today. $42 trillion for the Nostromo.
Oh, fucking mad about Yutani at work again.
Mad about Yutani. Wayland, yeah. I lost my joke.
Yeah, he's such a colossal cunt.
dude.
Like, and we really have to talk more about Burke, dude. What a fucking slimy little bastard. Okay, first of all, it's fucked up enough to drop the fucking what do they call the baby xenomorphs? Do they have a like the face huggers, I guess?
I've always heard them referred to as face huggers. I don't know that they have an official name in the canon. Oh, we didn't mention
it's fucked up enough.
We didn't mention
real
that
quick,
this movie calls them xenomorphs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I noticed that. I forgot they were canonically referred to as that. I always just thought that was like a fan.
I believe that happened from the toys from the first one. If I remember my there
were toys from that first Alien.
Oh,
I mean, dude, I guess there were.
I had a friend that like had all of them. He had the Queen. He had the dog like one from 3. They had a bunch.
No, I'm talking about for the first movie. They actually had an action figure line for the first movie because that would blow my mind.
I'm sure
because that's. Well, I mean, I guess they did have dolls in like a Saturday morning cartoon for Rambo First Blood, like the fucking vet with PTSD. I guess
the children's
goes.
Classic Rambo.
Yeah, exactly. Oh
my Jesus!
I completely forgot what my train of thought was.
Fandom.com, the facehugger, known taxonomically as Manumala noxahydria.
I'm just going to continue calling it a facehugger because I have no idea what you just said. But what I was going to say before I forget. It
hatches from an ovomorph? The egg is called an ovomorph?
I did not know that. That is news to me.
The second stage in the life cycle, and then the chest burster is apparently canonical. Yeah, okay.
But it's fucked up enough. It's fucked up enough. He would drop the facehugger in the room with Ripley. There's an 8-year-old second grader in the room.
You know what's even worse than that?
Like, what a bastard.
Do you know what's even worse than that?
What?
He dropped 2.
Oh, yeah. Like, what it's a not fucking even, asshole.
If Newt had gotten a facehugger, it wouldn't have even been an accident because he dropped 2.
God damn, dude. I love that, too. How awesome is it when they're deciding what to do with Burke? And then it's Hicks is just like, yeah, we off him. No offense. He's grabbing him to go fucking murder him. Like, fuck yeah, dude.
Oh, it's so good.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, what a piece of shit. And then he gets his, but like when he runs away and like shuts the door behind him and God.
Fucking yeah. Wasn't that I remember you told me a few months ago they were running some might have been like the Ralph Report, one of the podcasts that you listen to, but they were talking about like who's the biggest cinema weasel of all time, and then they say
Burke was but yeah, it was the Ramble with Jerry Rocha and Eddie Pence.
Oh, that's right.
They have a section on the podcast where they do different lists, like different. It used to be top 10, but people complained they had a hard time coming up with 10 of everything, so they made it top 5. And I think almost universally, everyone had number 1 biggest movie weasel is Burke.
Fucking asshole.
Oh God, what a dick. And then like that deal that he's offering Ripley to bring it back to the fucking bioweapons division at the company.
Yep.
Oh my God. And they
fucking asshole.
And they could come out
when he actually has the audacity. When he has the audacity to say he's disappointed in her.
Oh Jesus.
After he's gotten just like dozens and dozens of people killed. Because he orchestrated the whole fucking thing just about, didn't he? Didn't she find out, like, via the files that he orchestrated the entirety of the colony there, in the first place?
He told the colonists to investigate the ship. He sent them the coordinates to the ship.
Yeah.
Where they found the eggs. He did this. He did all of this. He's responsible for everything. It might not have ever been found. It's a whole fucking planet. You know how long humans have been like exploring the Earth and we're still discovering shit? Like it's a whole fucking planet, and he pointed it out to them and said, "Hey, what's that over there?" And being, humans like we are, we went to go look at it. And when everybody died. Like, oh Jesus, what an asshole. But yeah, no, Burke is a great character though. If you want to talk movie villains though, like he's up there. Paul Reiser kind of owns that character. Like when I think of movie Weasel, it is Burke I think of.
Yeah, he's so slimy.
Yeah.
And you just want to fucking strangle him every time he's on screen towards the end.
His attitude about how he's always like not only the smartest in the room, but like the correct one in the room. Like he acts like he has the moral high ground all the time.
Yeah, he's like Captain Mansplain of Wayland Yutani. And he's gonna fucking strangle him. So this is a little tidbit I found while researching the movie that I love. It makes me love Bill Paxton even more. Apparently, Bill Paxton continuously apologized to the Newt actress every time he had to swear in front of her.
Oh, yeah.
and the Newt actress later said that she didn't mind, mainly because she didn't really know what any of the words meant.
Right. God, Bill Paxton, what a loss, man.
I miss him dearly.
By all accounts, this is one of the greatest people you could ever hope to meet. Like, one of the nicest, most down-to-earth, friendliest guys. And, you know... surgery for a heart condition or something that
something like that.
He didn't make it out.
Yeah.
Oh,
it sucks. I didn't
complications due to surgery.
Yeah, man. Love me some Bill Paxton.
Oh my
Rest
God.
in peace, man. Rest in peace.
So many iconic roles. I still think of this and Twister of all things when I think of him, just because he's so good in that role, like that character that he plays, and he plays it so well. But yeah, just what a loss.
Yeah, it sucks.
He just seems like he would just sit down next to you and hand you a beer. You know, he's Bill fucking Paxton, and he just seems like he'd be like, "Hey, you want something from craft services? I'm about to go over." And like, you're Bill Paxton. I'm supposed to be handing you things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I did read a note too. So Carrie Hinn, who played Newt, did later become a teacher. You were correct in your point earlier. And this is one of the things that I wanted to kind of wrap up as far as talking about how impactful Sigourney Weaver's performance is. So Sigourney Weaver's Best Actress Academy Award nomination for this movie was the first ever for an actress in an action movie, which is fucking awesome, dude. That's great.
That is a genre that has been around almost as long as film. Like that's wow.
Yeah. It just shows you the real impact that this character, this franchise, it's a lot of repercussions, date back to Ripley. I think I'm kind of through my notes. Was there anything else you want to kind of touch on?
I just wanted to talk about a couple of pulp culture things that stood out to me real fast. So I already talked about the Ishimura vibes from Dead Space, but like, I know it's not one of your favorite movies. I don't know how much you remember or how many times you've seen it, but dude, when that APC is driving around through the hallways of the what was it, the terraforming plant or whatever, I was getting a lot of actually some Batman 89 flashbacks of the Batmobile going through
I could see that.
The factory and stuff. There's some very similar scenes. I think even with the camera work, as it's making some of those left turns and it's like turning in towards the camera and stuff. It's I was getting a lot of flashbacks from that I've never noticed before.
Also, just with the APC, how fucking like impeccable is the sound design of giving weight to the fucking miniature?
Oh, I know.
Man, you feel those impact, and like the editing, cutting back and forth between, like, I can't imagine sitting down to edit a sequence like that, where you're having to bring all of these things together, and you have to kind of like believably convey, weight behind the juxtaposition of the miniature scenes with the fake tank, and then like with all the actors, just like, man, what that opening chase where Ripley drives them away.
Yeah,
it's like one of the best scenes in the movie to me.
Actually, there's
awesome.
There's a thing with Hicks I meant to bring up about that. One thing that is okay. First off, his general demeanor is kind of like the stereotypical soldier that's been through some shit. Right? You just get that vibe from him immediately, the way he carries himself. But the thing that kind of confirms that he has a background without actually telling you what it is, I think, is the way he handles Ripley when she's driving them away. And he's talking to someone the way you talk to a person having a PTSD freakout.
Oh yeah,
like,
where he's like, trying to get her to slow down your metal on metal.
Gears.
Yeah.
You blew the trans, actually, just grinding gears. And he starts out, loud and harsh to get her attention, kind of. But once he sees her listening to him, he gets kind of more gentle, and he just eases her hands down on the throttle slowly, because fast movements to someone having PTSD, and like the way he's handling her in that moment, you're just like, oh yeah, Hicks has been through some shit, man.
But I also like that he's very, because he kind of is that stereotype you're talking about, like where he's seen some shit.
Humanity.
But he has his humanity, and he's very jovial. Like they have that scene early on when they set up her being able to use the power loader.
Yeah.
Where it's Michael Biehn and the guy who plays Apone. They're not like grizzled vets. They're just people who know what they're doing.
Right.
And this is another cool tidbit I found as well. James Cameron actually decided to have their opening scenes where they were revealing all of the Colonial Marines. He decided to film that last so they would all genuinely be friends by the end of the production, which is a really cool touch.
Nice.
Because that's something I would never think of, but it really
they didn't have to
sells
fake
it. They didn't have to fake it. They all knew each other. They've been filming for several weeks. They're friends. It was pretty cool.
There was a time when I would have told you that James Cameron was one of the greatest geniuses of our time in cinema, and then
I still think he is. I just think he lost his way or was abducted by aliens.
He's like was it Robot Chicken, the aliens that tried to take over the world by making a clone of Michael Jackson? I told you this would never work.
Because as much as I fucking loathe Avatar, and as much as I think Titanic is the most overrated piece of fiction like ever fucking made, you can't take away Terminator and Terminator 2 and Aliens, and even like some of the 90s stuff. Like The Abyss is pretty good, True Lies is pretty good. Like he made some good shit. It's just the tail end of his career
are pretty good too.
Yeah, it's just he got lost finding the bar, dude. He got lost finding the bar.
James Cameron. Yeah, he had
no budget too steep, no sea too deep. Who's that? It's him, James Cameron.
The music's coming through clear. Can you guys hear the music all right? Yeah, we hear it.
And he gave us that South Park joke.
That is true,
which is pretty fucking great.
The one last note that I had pulp culture wise, I knew that StarCraft borrowed heavily from the Alien universe. If you've ever played StarCraft before, Sarah Kerrigan is basically Ripley from Alien 4, and you've got the Marines in it are kind of like the Colonial Marines, the way they act and their demeanor, and
the Zerg and the Xenomorphs are very similar
and stuff. Like the design on a lot of the buildings and stuff, and the fucking creep is like in Aliens with all the shit they plastered all over the walls and the hive they made.
Because this is the Sarah Kerrigan story, like basically just the fourth Alien movie,
kinda.
Where because it's like it's literally the exact same story, right?
Pretty much,
her becoming the new queen.
Exactly.
It's like it's a copy paste basically. I still dig. I have no issues with StarCraft, but it is pretty funny how they literally just like I don't know how they didn't get sued by 20th Century Fox because. Well, it's fucking Alien Resurrection, dude.
The thing that I don't understand they didn't get sued for is you should look up the image for the battlecruiser captain from StarCraft, and then look up the captain from Macross. His voice sounds the same. He's got the same accent, and he looks fucking identical. And he's piloting he's the captain of a giant fucking ship, just like in Macross, which is a Robotech in America. That one I was like, that is not a reference, StarCraft. That is a blatant ripoff. It's great though, because that was my favorite character in Macross actually. But no, the other thing though that I never dawned on me with as many hours as I have played in StarCraft is the fucking Terran dropship. Is the fucking dropship from Aliens before the weapons open on it?
Mm-hmm.
Almost identically, the pilot of the dropship is the pilot from Aliens. And she even says the 5x5 line identically and sounds like her when she says it.
That's funny.
And then when Brood War came out, the expansion, they introduced the Terran Valkyrie. It's the fucking dropship when the weapon's open.
That's another thing. Like we talked about the visual language.
Oh, I know.
Halo rips off the VTOL from like did Aliens create the imagery of a VTOL ship? Because I feel like there's never been a different VTOL ship. It's just always the fucking one from Aliens. I'm okay with that because it looks fucking awesome, But I can't think of another ship that has been ripped off more than the VTOL in Aliens.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't even like actual like we were starting to have more VTOL in like actual real life. Aren't even the real life ones starting to be designed off of the Aliens design? Like I feel like I've seen actual images of like real life fucking ships that look like the goddamn Aliens ones.
I'm trying to remember.
At some point.
In the flashbacks to like the war in the Terminator franchise, do we see that VTOL again?
I cannot recall.
Remember.
I mean, they had them in Salvation, I think. But I don't remember.
Yeah, that's kind of all I had. It just kind of blew my mind watching this movie. I have a ridiculous amount of time spent in StarCraft. I'm like, how did I never fucking see the goddamn dropship and the Valkyrie? It's just wings open and wings closed from Aliens. It's even the same fucking pilot with the same line of dialogue said exactly the same way. Yeah.
Another thing that ripped it off. I never really realized just how much Sergeant Johnson in Halo is a fucking Control-C, Control-V from Apone, because he's just a very, very saucy black dude with a cigar in his mouth most of the time, and just like, yeah, that's Apone.
But yeah, no, it's Aliens, man.
Great fucking movie. It's so fucking good, and I almost like that I kind of forget just how good it is because how much it's able to just suck me in and just grab me.
Yeah. This
every time.
This is going to sound a lot more like degrading than I mean it, but as a sequel, it's going to stand in the shadow of the first movie. And that first movie being as great as it is, the first movie is the one that kind of pops out in your mind. You're like, yeah, Alien is fucking phenomenal. And Aliens is really good too. And then you go to watch and you're like, no, this is fucking phenomenal as well. You just remember it as a sequel and not like the great movie that it is in its own right.
Well, what's funny about that is that seems to be a very singular opinion from you and me.
Really?
Because most people do not have the same kind of mindset to this. Most people, if you did a poll, probably 90% of people are going to say Aliens is the best one and their favorite one. Even Bobby. Bobby has said, I believe, he's more of an Aliens guy. You and I are in the minority. Most people view this as like the pinnacle of the franchise, and the first Alien is just like a pretty good movie. Like, I don't think Alien actually has, outside of like some more kind of like film buff territory. If you polled the general public, like if I went and asked my parents, like my parents would say, "Oh, Aliens hand fucking down."
So I could see that because a lot of what you and I love about Alien is the subtlety and and
this is a popcorn movie.
The thing that you said a few times is addition through subtraction. It does that a lot in the first Alien. So yeah, it takes balls to do like what the first Alien does with all the character backgrounds, all the information that clearly they wrote, but they leave out because, it's world building. This is the world they live in. They don't need to explain shit to each other. Everybody knows.
The 30-minute conversation you and I had about the fucking laws of robotics.
Yes.
In conjunction, that is never talked about explicitly. It's just we drew that from just very, very small details. So
yeah, and they wouldn't talk about it or explain it to the audience because they live in a world with androids.
I just think the only thing about it is that Aliens is more accessible because it is just a more traditional movie. And again, that sounds degrading. But it is a more, like you said, like
is a more
the subtlety
movie,
of Alien.
It is top tier.
Yeah, it is a masterpiece.
Yes, and
I think it is. I think if you put a gun to my head, I think this is the best sequel ever made. I really think that. I can't think of a single flaw. I think that
everybody knows that the best sequel ever made is fucking episode 9. What was the name of that one?
I thought you were going to say Temple of Doom.
Oh, that would have been a good one too. What was the name of episode 9? It was so good I fucking forgot.
The Rise of Fan Service.
That's right, The Rise of Skywalker.
What a fucking piece
movie.
of shit that was. Fuck that movie. Hey, here's the magical MacGuffin that magically lines up with the architecture in the fucking background of the scene, because they magically end up in the exact same spot that 30,000 years in the... fucking Christ. I'll have a fucking aneurysm talking about that goddamn movie. I hate it so much.
We're going to have to get there eventually.
I fucking hate that movie
I
so
have
much.
no skin in the game, and that movie made me angry.
Oh my god, I hate it so much. Especially as someone, as one of the 12 people who fucking love The Last Jedi. Fuck Rise of Skywalker,
I still need to go back to it. I remember liking what I saw.
Fuck that
but I had been
movie.
driving for like 5 hours that day, and I fell asleep in the middle of it.
Oh, Last Jedi?
That's 8, right?
Yes. That's the Ryan Johnson one.
I was going in and out of consciousness during that one, because I watched it at my father-in-law down in Texas, his house. I had just, the same night that I had just driven us there, we checked into the hotel, went over there, and he's like, want to watch a movie? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, let's watch this one. And I was going in and out of consciousness during but what I saw of it, I liked.
I think, so we're going to end this very, very quickly, because I don't want to ramble about Star Wars.
Right.
This is completely off topic, but the thing that I think you will genuinely like about The Last Jedi, which I also genuinely liked about The Last Jedi, is the movie actually has testicles. It dares you to be challenged as a viewer. It does not give you fan service, and it dares you not to like certain elements of it, because it actually has character arcs and shit.
Yeah, but
and you want to know why? Because it's fucking Ryan Johnson, who's like one of the best writers in Hollywood right now, but the entire internet, they wanted fan service because they're dumb.
Well, I mean, as far as fandom goes, Star Wars fans are kind of becoming the worst.
No, I think they've been the worst. I think they've been the worst for a very, very long time.
Yeah, it's, the original trilogy isn't bad, but they don't challenge the viewer either. And like
I think
said,
Empire Strikes does. Empire Strikes challenges the viewer. You don't fully appreciate Empire Strikes Back enough. Empire Strikes Back is legitimately good. Now, A New Hope and Return of the Jedi especially do not challenge the viewer. But like, to have your sequel in a fucking depressing down note is pretty ballsy for 1980.
Yeah.
That's not a thing that usually happened back then. That's all I'm gonna say. But we'll sign off here. What was your last thing you're gonna say?
Okay, I was gonna say, before we sign off. Now, I've only listened to one of these, but I do want to plug something from Audible, and I think you bought the book on my recommendation of the Audible, but it's called Alien Out of the Shadows. And
oh yeah, I remember this.
Now, what Audible has done is they've done this with a lot of stuff, not just the Alien books, but they've taken a lot of the books from the Alien series and turned them into dramas, like full sound effects, music composition. Rutger Hauer is one of the voices in this. And
really good pick for that.
Yeah, like it's got a full cast. Like every character is a different actor. It's a full cast, just like the old radio dramas from back in the day. And it's called Out of the Shadows, and it takes place in that 57 years that she was drifting in space.
Oh, okay.
It explains why she was drifting in space and didn't make it home.
Gotcha. Yeah, because they very, very briefly talk about that actually in the movie.
And they also talk about, and the movie has the drama, as I recall, at the time anyway, I meant to listen to it again before we recorded, but I didn't get around to it. As I recall, it had a pretty solid explanation as to why she doesn't remember it either.
Gotcha.
And I think
I have some stacked up Audible credits. I might have to download that.
Yeah, I think it makes a reference to her daughter in this also. And her daughter is who you play as in Alien Isolation. And I think that one that came out for phones not too long ago, I think you play as her in that too.
Well, because they originally actually going to have her be a character in this movie, but I think she got deleted from the movie. I think they actually had Ripley's daughter in the script, but they obviously saw how that they saw how that would conflict with the Newt thing.
Yeah.
And I think the decision to axe the daughter storyline and focus on like the kind of surrogate daughter of her trying to protect Newt is a much better story. And I actually think they were smart to delete that portion of the movie.
So, did it bother anyone else that he kept calling Ripley kiddo? The 57 years alone that she drifted in space makes her older than him.
What was it? Was it Burke that was
It's
calling
Burke,
her kiddo?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like again, just Captain Mansplain, you know.
Yeah,
Not about you,
I
Tawny.
get it was a.
He's a fucking asshole.
Yeah, it was a sexist thing that he was doing, but
Yeah.
of all of these sexist things he could call her, before the 57 years drifting in space, she was probably older than him. And then she drifted in space for longer than he's been alive. And he's calling her kiddo.
Yeah. Yeah, what a man, fucking Burke. What a cunt.
What a
I hate that guy.
fucking cunt, man. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's God, I love the 57 Years of Hypersleep just because another book series that I was burning through, the Frontier Saga. Like, there's a character in that named Marcus that would be your favorite character, Jeff. He's basically a colonial marine, but he's like from a mining colony.
Uh-huh.
And like, he talks about all these historical events throughout all of the books, and he talks about, like, you know, in his day and all that stuff. And finally someone's just like, exactly how old are you anyway? And he's like, I don't have any idea. You know how many years I have gone from colony to colony in hypersleep? He's like, I was born in this year though. And they're like, that makes you like almost 300 years old. And he's like, yeah, but I don't know how old I actually am because I don't know how much that time was in hypersleep. You don't age in hypersleep.
Yeah, that's a cool touch.
Yeah, and like,
it sounds almost like Captain Jack.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so no, that was one of my. So I love the after reading that book and that character jumping into she's been sleeping for 57 years and hasn't aged and stuff. I was like, oh man, I love this movie. Details, man. Details.
It's awesome. And just to like, how do you further isolate your main character?
Yes.
Even beyond the confines of the first movie and literally being about isolation and in space, no one can hear you scream. But to have her even when she gets back home, she's out of time, you know?
And
fucking great. So good.
The reveal that LV-426 has had a colony on it for the last 20 years.
And they're so nonchalant about it.
Yeah. Which is why they all think she's ridiculous. Also, as a caveat, genius. I'm looking at Audible right now. Alien Out of the Shadows. It does specifically say that this is book 3. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they're standalone. This is just the one that I managed to grab one time because I saw Rutger Hauer's name on it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Rutger Hauer is fucking awesome. But we need to get out of here because we said we had one more point like 37 points ago.
I know,
so
but
we
this
need
movie, dude.
Yeah. It's
you understand
great.
me, Jeff. You know.
Oh, I understand you. We're almost at an hour 45 minutes. Trying to get us the fuck out of this podcast.
Well, 20 minutes.
Bobby's got shit to do. Bobby's got to turn off the podcast. Okay, Bobby got to get back to work or whatever he's doing. Yeah. But yeah, if you would like to follow us more, you can follow us over on Twitter at SPR Filmcast. If you would like your questions answered, be sure to email us screenplayrewind@gmail.com. Any prompts you'd like Ron and myself to discuss. What were your thoughts on Aliens? Did you like Aliens actually better than Alien when you first saw them? Does that opinion still hold, all these years later? Let us know. And Mr. Ron, where can people find you when you are not discussing xenomorphs?
I am on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter as not Twinter, but Twitter at RonSenseTV. And ratings and reviews on whatever you are listening to us on allows a rating or a review, that is a very easy way to help us out tremendously. Ratings and reviews get us into the algorithms where we start getting suggested to people.
Yes, God forbid we be suggested. That's a terrifying thought.
Those poor saps.
Yeah. It's like the Screenplay Rewind, the face hugger of podcasts about movies.
That's our tagline. That's the tagline. The face hugger of podcasts.
Oh man.
Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
All right, and we still need to actually select what our next movie is going to be. And Rod and I discovered this after we finish the recording because
we're
we
back,
had
extending the runtime
Yeah,
of this podcast.
Screenplay Rewind 2, The Search for Less Money. What we are going to be covering, it is you picked Aliens, right? Yeah,
Yes.
we're good at this. We're great at this.
Yeah, no, we're great at our job.
Yeah, you think what is like episode like 33 or something? You think we'd be like
34?
better at this, but
Nah.
we're not. The next movie we're going to cover, drumroll, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Oh my god.
Have you seen Ballad of Buster Scruggs?
I have not seen it, but Netflix really wants me to.
All right. The Coen Brothers Western Anthology. All kinds of crazy shit, and I think it'd be really fun to talk about because one of my favorite episodes we've actually done of this show so far was Southbound. I love me some anthologies. So I think this would be fun to talk about.
All right.
It's just speech.
I'm nervous on this one.
Why are you nervous? Why are you nervous?
What I've seen of like what Netflix shows you when you put your remote down to take a drink or something, plus like the poster, I'm just like, not for me. And then Netflix is like, no, you have to watch it.
It's pretty fucking nuts because it's 6 short films and they're not even like really the same genres outside of being westerns. It's pretty crazy, but I think it's super good. So
But no through line, no through line like Southbound.
It's been a few years since I've seen it,
Uh-huh.
but they're very different from one another. Very different tone, very different. They're just pretty fucking bonkers. But the cast is great. It's the fucking Coen Brothers, and I adore the Coen Brothers. So I think it'll be a fun thing to at the very least review, and discuss. So yeah, that's my pick for next time.
All right.
It is available on Netflix, like Ron said. So if you want to catch it.
It should be easy to find because Netflix is really wanting you to watch it. Every time I open Netflix, it's like the first thing it shows to me.
Yeah, at the very least, you will appreciate the cast because like half of fucking Hollywood is in this movie because it's a Coen Brothers flick. So
right.
it'll be fun. It'll be fun. But yeah, well, we were covering that in 2 weeks' time. So be sure to watch that if you want to follow along with us. And boy, it's gonna be crazy.
Did I tell you I already have my Halloween pick figured out? Oh shit! Did we say a movie?
Oh fuck, we didn't say a movie.
We didn't say a movie. How are they gonna know what to watch? How are they gonna know what to not watch when they not listen to us?
Shit. Wait, too many fucking.
We're in such a hurry to get out. We left our wallet behind, Jeff.
I completely forgot. Shit, I don't even have a movie picked yet.
Throw a dart. I know your list is extensive. Just throw a dart. I don't know why you keep your list up on the wall in individual images, but just throw a dart.
I just have them on push pins like I'm a detective trying to catch a serial killer. Just
push pins and yarn.
Lots of yarn.
Just like our points in every podcast, just push pins and yarn.
Oh my god.